And now I'll invite the speakers to turn on their videos and we'll start the Q&A session. Okay. Lisa, there was quite a bit of discussion in the chat box about your project, in particular, the topic of iron, with the plant-based products having non-heme iron, and there were questions about the bioavailability. I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because the plant-based products, most of them, I'm going to talk about one that's an exception, but most would have, the iron's coming from a plant source. So predominantly, non-heme iron, which has lower bioavailability than the heme iron in red meats. The one exception is the Impossible Burger, which has soy-like hemoglobin in it. And I actually reached out to the scientific officer at Impossible Foods to find out more about that ingredient, if they knew about the bioavailability of it, because it's basically hemoglobin, in a protein. And she said theoretically it would be as bioavailable as the hemoglobin, the heme iron in meat, but they had not done any research to confirm that. So it's a theoretical thing. But most of these products, that's the only product that has this novel soy-like hemoglobin ingredient that potentially is as bioavailable as, red meat.
Thank you. And then in addition, there was a question about the plant-based products clearly have more saturated fat. That range goes up to 30, more than 90% lean ground beef. Is there any plan to drill deeper into the macronutrients? For example, palm oil versus coconut oil, amino acid composition of the proteins, et cetera.
The products that were as on par in saturated fat with ground beef used coconut oil. And so we're not planning to dig any deeper into that. I mean, that is what it is. And as to whether the health effects are similar to the saturated fatty acids that are in red meat, that's for research to figure out. I think there's some, research going on looking at individual saturated fatty acids and if they're all equivalently, to be minimized, or if there's some that are more harmful than others.
And will you be looking at gums, thickeners, emulsifiers, any of those?
No, we didn't do those analyses. I did do some reading and writing the paper about, that and looking at the ingredient statements that, the NOVA classification system for what constitutes an ultra processed food, many of these products would fit that classification based on the ingredients that are in them, because they do often have them also, just anecdotally looking at the labels. It's not in the paper, but I can tell you that a lot of them have ingredients that would classify them as ultra processed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And there was a question early on whether or not these data that you presented were chemical analysis or from your nutrient database. And you did respond that they were from your database.
Right. So if, the way that we create nutrient profiles for products beyond the label nutrients is we create formulations based on the ingredient statement and the nutrition facts panel information. And so for individual ingredients, like say it had black beans in it, we know the nutrient content of black beans beyond the label nutrients. So we're estimating the nutrients beyond the label nutrients for those products. They were not chemically analyzed. They were estimated in that way.
Okay. And Jihan, your research really brought up a lot of questions. And it looks like there were some ideas that were presented for future research collaborations. Also questions regarding the availability of the products that are served in school food service versus what's available in the retail market. Could you comment on the availability of these products, and also if there's any thought that you might have about looking at acceptability of these products in a broader population other than school food service?
Yeah, so when I was gathering data, so the information, the data that I gathered is based on the online form. So I do believe that there are more limits when you actually go in the grocery stores, because I worked in a school service, so I am familiar with those products, but when I go to the retail stores, I barely find them. I barely find the baked form. I barely find less added sugar forms. So I do believe that there are limited access when you actually go in the grocery stores. And I do, as I mentioned in a presentation, that the companies should choose the healthier options to the retail stores as well, so that the people will have a healthier versions as well. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it is kind of interesting that the product availability of these so-called healthier options are not broadly available. All right, looking to see if there are other questions. Well, you might want to comment on, do you have further thoughts about collaborating with, let's see, USDA FNS Child Nutrition Database, USDA Foods, or USDA Smart Snacks in Schools?
I think that's a really great opportunity. I will be starting my PhD this fall, and I am seeking for some of the opportunities that I can do, because I'm highly interested in school food nutrition, and that's my first career, where I started as an RD. So I would love to seek for an opportunity.
All right. And then this one is for Megan, just a comment. The difference between your data and the label value is probably due to the different methods. And I guess you cannot directly compare your data and USDA data, as the products may be different.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible that the product used for testing back in 2014 on the USDA database was somewhat different from ours. The important thing is that it's a spaghetti pasta, and it's dry and enriched refined grains. So when you look at different refined grain pastas, the dietary fiber content is relatively similar, even across different brands. So that would generally point to the fact that it's likely the outdated methods, just that they were using different methods back then to test for dietary fiber.
All right, thank you. And I thought I did see a question for Dr. Lee. Oh, yes. The ingredient ID program used to parse ingredients from the branded foods, is that publicly accessible?
It's not really, we're still building the framework, and we're still keep adding on items on the thesaurus. If you are interested in learning what we're doing, you can contact us for further discussions on this topic. We're referring to NALT, the National Agricultural Thesaurus, and the FDA SRS substrate database, also a lot of other databases, to see how we can use the current resources to build thesaurus and link to other database and thesaurus. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. And I believe this question is for Lisa. Going back to the plant-based products, do you have any comment on their sustainability? Or if they are sustainable?
Yeah, I ran across some readings on that in terms of their carbon and water footprint and that stuff in relation to animal meats, and I'm totally not qualified to. It's very complicated, and I'm not going to comment on that.
We might have to get our first speaker back, the keynote from yesterday, to answer that question. All right, I'm looking through the questions, and I think that we have answered all of them. Oh wait, here's one more for Lisa. Do you plan on doing similar research with other plant-based products like the chicken alternatives, sausage, fish, etc.
Yeah, I think we would like to do more and find a good student who's interested in working on it here at the university. We may be presenting more on that soon. Yeah.
And another one for you, it sounded like you used the ingredient list to infer a recipe. Is that NMDC recipe builder publicly available?
It's a program that NCC has developed, a food calculation program, and we have licensed it in the past. Contact me if you're interested in learning more about it. Yeah, but I'll leave it there.
All right. I'll scan one more time to see if there are any other questions. Oh, Megan, how many pasta products were analyzed in your study?
We actually just did the one pasta product, the one generic brand.
Okay,
Spaghetti.
thank you for that. And looks like all of our questions have been answered. I'd like to thank you all again for presenting your research. You did an awesome job, and it's something that is of contemporary interest. So thank you very much. And with that, we will move to the day's wrap up. Ask our AMS partners to put the slide up. Okay, so this concludes the day 2 sessions for our 42nd National Nutrient Data Bank Conference. I would like to remind you that the videos from yesterday's sessions are available on our website, and hope you can all return tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight's time for our day 3 sessions. With we'll be kicking off with keynote speaker Johanna Dwyer. Do adult multivitamin mineral supplements fill critical nutrient gaps? So we all look forward to that presentation. That will be followed by our poster awards. So we'll be looking forward to that as well. So I wish you all a good rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.